Okay, in the back, I think we're getting ready to start. Okay. Mayor, whenever you're ready. Testing, testing. Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm going to call to order the meeting of the RTA Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee at 9 a.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Biassiata.
Here.
Miss Welch.
Here.
Miss McPherson.
Here.
Miss Pachetti. And Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
You have 4 committee members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We have 2 agenda items today. First up, we're going to have our quarterly management report, and our presenter will be Ms. India Birdsong Terry. Ms. Terry, podium is yours.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. We will start out. We have a few presentations this morning, and we've got a few guests as well. We'll start out with going over the second quarter 2024 report, and this will go over our quarterly management. You may have it at your desk there. It looks like this for those of you that are newer to the process. And this is basically where we go through the expenditures and the revenue reports for the second quarter of the year. I'll keep it at a very high level as you have the information in front of you, but we're happy to take questions as well. Just as of note, we have Kay Satula. Kay, raise your hand, please. That's standing in for Raj. No, they're not twins. And Kay is able to answer any questions that you may have on behalf of budget. And we also have John Tyre, who's here for accounting for the finance side. So our total revenues came in just under 4% higher than budget, which is always a good thing. Passenger fares are nearly 16% higher, and sales and use almost 3% lower. You'll have the detail outline within your packet as well as if you want to get into the differences between what takes one sales and use quarter over another. A lot of times that depends on the market and what's happening in the retail space as well, affecting the area. Reimbursed expenditures are quite high. These are received funds for fuel, performance maintenance, labor, and other miscellaneous receipts, so this tends to fluctuate over time. As you start to see additional transfers into the Revenue Stabilization Fund, we have made a commitment to a continual $10 million transferred, so sometimes we're able to actually go over and above that particular goal. We have committed to that and will continue to do so to fund different projects such as rail replacement and capital expenditures over time to make sure we're in a good posture for the next upcoming year and decade as we go forward. Operating expenses are a bit higher. A lot of that always comes into play when you have purchase transportation, when you get into paratransit, and you have different fluctuations in ridership as well. Fuel hedging are continually to be stabilized. Those expenses you don't see a lot of fluctuation in. And again, as I mentioned, purchase transportation, we always want to note that. That's nearly 50% higher than budget if I kind of look at it on a higher end, but it wavers around 41.4 to be exact, and that always impacts our bottom line. Going to the next slide, transferring to other funds, I mentioned the $10 million in rolling stock reserve. The 27th pay we also are covered for. We usually mention that to keep you updated to make sure that we don't slip on our goals for that. Our insurance fund is $2.5 million, and our transfer to capital is nearly $6 million in bond retirement, and then the capital improvement fund will occur later in the year, which we'll bring to you via update. We also like to be able to give you a bar chart to be able to show the differences in capital expenditures by category. So you'll be able to see it by year as well. We're in the purple, which is your 2024. You will see with different projects, you'll see the federal assistance go up quite a bit. Our transit centers are really on the market now. That's pretty much our focus, as well as facility improvements. You'll hear a lot through the resolutions as far as a lot of the upgrades excuse me, that we have on the docket through our engineering department and project management, also through our facilities maintenance division within operations, and then rail replacement also continued as we go on toward our end date of 2030 to make sure that everything is replaced. Everything else is about status quo. Our bus improvement program continues to operate as planned. Unless there are any immediate questions, and of course you can ask at any time, we will have additional information about the quarterly performance. Sometimes that also informs you about what I just mentioned as well, as we continue to inform you on some of the major projects that we have that are customer facing. Happy to take any questions, or we can hold them to the end.
Let's go for questions now. Anyone? On our quarterly report?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Biassiata. So I'll take that as an indicator. We'll go forward. Like I mentioned, a lot of the information that we have will inform the other. So really quickly, again, I'm India Birdsong Terry, General Manager and CEO for RTA. We also have, in the peanut gallery here, we have James Rubin, who is a principal at TransPro. He'll be able to kind of quarterback this along with me to give you more information. For those of you that are new, Ms. Elder, for example, this is our quarterly performance review. We come to the board every quarter to be able to update you on not just the KPIs and the statistics, but also the root causes of some of the projects that we have. From the customer perspective, we also have surveying that goes out, and we are happy to talk to you offline about that. For the agenda, I'll skip through this. You'll see this in a minute. Scorecard, success outcomes, and also our customer experience survey results. This is where we are in the process. As you can see, we're in August 2024. We come to you, as I mentioned, every quarter, and we like to make sure that you're aware of when we're going to come to you with an update. But again, this is a process that we refine as we go through the year. Giving you a really high level, we have seen some significant gains in a lot of the areas that tend to fluctuate by customer perspective. So as you can see in the point category, it's a slow crawl, but our goal that we have is listed in the second column there under points. So customer experience, community impact, employee investment, and financial health are the 4 areas of focus that we have for the authority, with customer experience leading the charge, which makes sense because the way our customers feel about us and their experience on our system leads our work. So that takes the cake with 40 points, and we are currently at 29. If you look in the yellow category to the right, that tells you where we are at the current quarter, at the end of the quarter. And then when you look at, and we'll go into detail, of course, this isn't going to be our only explanation, but you'll understand why we're at 29. However, that has steadily increased over the last few quarters. Community impact, you'll see the difference there on the far right. 57% for community perception of personal relevance of RTA. So what role does RTA play in their life, regardless of if they take our system to the local Guardians game or they take it every day to go to work. And then you also have community perception of community relevance. What does it mean to the broader community? What does it mean to their neighbors? How well do they understand how we serve their fellow constituent? And then employee investment, you'll see that we have a 90% vacancy fill rate. We actually are looking at somewhere between 95 and 98 for our goal. We also have Scott Ferraro, if you wave your hand, Scott in the back. He's sitting in for George Fields, who's out today. We'll be back shortly and can answer questions. And I believe we have Ida Ford. There we go. Sorry. Thanks you. Ida and Fiona Gibbons in the back there. Both of them are leading up our talent acquisition. They have a lot to do with this 90%, as well as our eventual hit to the 95 and 98% fill rate, so they can answer questions on that as well. A lot of that have to do with our shortfall when it comes to operators. I believe we were hovering somewhere around 98 or so. Between 95 and 98 is usually the sweet spot. Okay, I'm getting the nod, yes. And we're trying to reduce that as we go through the quarters. If you recall, we were closer to well over 100, probably in the 120s and 130s about 6 months ago. So we are chipping away at that, and we keep tabs on that through our service quality and service management department. Joel Freilich keeps us on task with that every month. Financial health, also, you'll see we're at $44.6 million in competitive and capital grants. A lot of that has to do with timing. You'll hear Mike Schipper say that a lot. You'll hear our team say that a lot through finance. A lot of it becomes real money, so to speak, as the process continues, but it does not stop our application process, and so we can always review that as well as we start to think about how this deals with the community and if we're applying for grants that actually impact our customers immediately. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to James for a moment to go through how we've done. And again, we score ourselves as if we're in school. So you'll see the ribbon onto the right, and that'll kind of be your cheat sheet to understand the numbers a little bit better, and you can look at the points earned versus the actual goal that we have.
Thank you, India. I just want to point something out before we move on to this. You know, if you look under community impact, under that yellow bar, under status, those are the most recent results from your community survey. 57% find perception of personal relevance, 89 community perception of community relevance. That's from a survey that's not just customers, right? That's a community survey. So actually a pretty small number of respondents to that survey are regular RTA customers. And I think that's a tremendously positive finding, that despite the fact that a small proportion of the community survey respondents are actual RTA customers, a huge number of them find value personally and find value for the community in the service. That really speaks a lot about how people think and feel about RTA in the community. So I wanted to go into some more depth here into how these score points are accumulated for the past quarter, and looking at some customer survey results. A little sort of foreshadowing, I've got a lot of good news for you this quarter. Not every quarter do I stand in front of you and give you good news. This quarter I have some good news for you. So looking at customer experience, the total points possible here were 40. The agency received 45.1, so really knocked it out there. Community impact, possible total points of 25, got 24.5. And then for employee investment, a goal points of 20, 19.6, so just about there. And financial health, a goal of 15, and we're at 12.1. So diving in a little bit deeper to customer experience, this is that first category. We already spoke about Net Promoter Score. That's this idea of I'm likely to recommend RTA to friends and family and colleagues. The goal was at 21. Last quarter, this was at 10. This last quarter, too, this came in at 29 for the agency. A tremendous improvement there. We'll look at the customer survey results in a few minutes, and I'll show you exactly what's driving that improvement. Overall satisfaction also went up to 73%, a goal of 66, so an 8.8 points earned there. Personal safety and security perception, and here's a little hint, this is a lot to do with why that Net Promoter Score increased. 70% as a goal of 65%, up 8 percentage points, so a 5.4 score there. On-time performance impression and on-time performance actual. The impression is that of the view of the customer. The actual is the internal data. All pretty consistent, quarter 1 through quarter 2 there, 71 to 72, 84 to 82. And lastly, vehicle cleanliness perception. The goal is at a 56. We're just about there at 54, a 2 percentage point slide from quarter 1, but with margins of error, that's pretty much the same result. And that's why we're not quite achieving the 3 there for that. Under community impact, here's that perceived value, personal relevance, perceived value, community relevance. You see the 57 and the 89, really holdovers from quarter 1 until we do the next round of community surveying, which should be coming up soon. The economic ratio of private sector investment to major capital, the goal here is a 7. We had a 6.02, so that's why we have a 5.2 in terms of points earned. Equity, capital dollars invested in EJ zones, that goal there is a 77%, currently at 55%, so that's where we get the 4.3. And emissions reduction goal points, the goal is 8%, currently coming in at 11%, and that's why we're at that 7.8, more than the 6 goal points for community impact. Employee investment, here's the vacancy fill rate metric. The goal here is at 95%, and we currently achieved a 90%, pretty consistent with quarter 1 results. That's where we get the 7.6. Cultivate internal talent pipeline. This improved from a 16% in quarter 1 to a 33% in quarter 2. Goal is 36%, so we're at 3.7 there. Agency-wide retention rate, goal of 90. We got a 99%, so knocked it out there. Vacancy fill rate for non-bargaining positions, the goal of 95. We achieved a 96. Did well there. And supervisor support, the goal was a 62. That's exactly where we landed, and that's where those 2 points are coming from. And lastly, on the scorecard, financial health, competitive capital grants. In quarter 1 result, we have the 27 million. By quarter 2, we're at 44.6. That's why we get the 6.4 points earned there. Operating expenses at 2.3%. So the goal there was a negative 5%. We had a negative number for quarter one, slipped a little bit in quarter two, and that's why we're seeing the 0 points there. The fund transferred to Capital Rolling Stock Reserve Fund, the $10 million is the goal. That has been done. Those points have been awarded. And operating expenses per revenue hour went from 189.04, slight improvement to 181.76, but not quite at the goal of 165, and that's where we're seeing the 2.7. So I'm going to turn toward the customer experience survey results, unless we want to stop and have any questions on the scorecard first. Keep going? Keep going. This is a combination of the results for Net Promoter Score and overall satisfaction for fixed route bus. The gold line is overall satisfaction. The blue line is Net Promoter Score. And you could see for fixed route bus, Net Promoter Score improved by 12 points, going from an 11 last quarter to a 23 in this quarter. Overall satisfaction for fixed route bus went from a 71 to a 72, so pretty flat, but definitely a tremendous improvement in Net Promoter Score for fixed route bus. When we ask customers who are using fixed route bus what's most important to them, because remember on these surveys there's two dimensions, satisfaction and importance, and in a lot of ways what's most important is most important, no pun intended, right? So if you take a look here, you're seeing that personal safety and security is now at 17%, right as a tie with on-time performance. This looked different last quarter. Last quarter, personal safety and security was much more important to customers than it is now. It slipped, and on-time performance has started to become more important. Why has that happened? We see this happen as conditions improve from the customer's perspective, and they then think it is less important because they're not experiencing things that they feel are making them feel less safe. So this is perfect evidence of the fact that customers' perception on fixed route bus for personal security has improved. And in fact, I can give you those numbers. Last time around for fixed route bus, we had a 65% personal security satisfaction, I feel safe at bus stop, on buses rather, and a 60% I feel safe at bus stops. This time around for quarter two, 74% feel safe on the bus and 65% feel safe at bus stop. That's a 9 percentage point and a 5 percentage point improvement for fixed route bus in terms of customers' perception of personal security. That is absolutely driving the improvement in Net Promoter Score here. You'll see this even more dramatically in a moment for bus rapid transit and for rail. So here's the BRT numbers, and you can see that steep, sharp tilt upwards, very much good news from wave 9, March 24, through wave 10, June 24. What does that improvement look like for BRT? Net Promoter Score for BRT was at 11 in wave 9. It is now at 37 in wave 10. Overall satisfaction in wave 9 was down at 60%. It is now up to 78%. So correlation there. Both of these measures of satisfaction improved dramatically. Here, personal safety and security is now third on the most important list for customers using bus rapid transit. On-time performance and cleanliness are now the two most important attributes from the customer's perspective, further indicating that personal security as a concern for BRT customers has become less because they're not feeling as unsafe as they were back when we did the survey last time. What do those numbers look like for BRT? When last wave, 68% felt safe on the bus, 60% felt safe at the bus stop. Now we have 71% feeling safe on the bus, 65% feeling safe at the bus stop. That's a 3 and 5 percentage point improvement for BRT. Similarly, sharp improvement for rail here. In wave 9, the rail net promoter score had actually slipped under 0 and was at a -3. Remember, net promoter score is on a scale of -100 to +100. You can have a negative net promoter score if more people are saying don't use it than are saying use it, right? So it was at a -3, a tremendous rebound from wave 9 through wave 10, up to a 40 net promoter score in wave 10, and overall satisfaction improving from 58 to 73. So a 43-point improvement for net promoter score, a 15 percentage point improvement for overall satisfaction. Again, personal security is now second after cleanliness and getting pretty close to on-time performance, right? What do those safety and security numbers look like in terms of improvement from last wave to this wave for rail? Last wave on rail, 56% felt safe on the train, 51% felt safe in the station. Now, most recent survey results, 69% feel safe on the train and 65% feel safe in the station. That's a 13 and 14 percentage point improvement in that specific metric, the one that customers were saying last quarter was most important to them. So to summarize, things have improved along the most important metric to customers, personal safety and security from last quarter, so much so that it's no longer the most important metric for them. And that is absolutely driving up overall satisfaction and net promoter score. Paratransit continues to improve quarter over quarter to some of the best results that we see in the industry for paratransit. You could see here creeping up to just above 90, 92, 93 for overall satisfaction, and net promoter score well above 70 here, just slightly more. So tremendous positive results from paratransit customers. I often remind folks that paratransit customers are often organized. They often speak. You have sometimes a better means of communication with them because they will tell you what they think. But when we serve them, despite the fact that they're vocal, they also tend to be a little bit more satisfied than fixed route bus customers. So you can see that here clearly in the results. What's most important to paratransit customers? Also personal safety and security. But I want to remind everyone that that's slightly different. It's a different type of personal safety and security than fixed route bus, BRT, and rail folks are talking about, right? This is the idea of being able to safely get to your destination, making sure you're secured into the vehicle, making sure all of that, and you can get on and off the vehicle safely. So it's less a concern about, I don't feel safe from crime and harassment, so to speak, and more about safe in the trip from one destination to the other. When we combined all of that, we can see the agency-wide results. You can see that nice improvement in net promoter score, taking things up to about a 28, 29 for the agency. A nice slight improvement as well in overall satisfaction. So things are moving in the right direction. Specifically as you address customers' concern with personal safety and security. And that brings me to the end of the presentation.
Questions from the committee? Open it up the whole board.
Just if we can, if I can add one quick comment. So we understand that this is an ongoing process. This is not everyone's experience, but we are taking surveys from customers. We're also listening to feedback that we have. So we appreciate the feedback and the real transparency, right, that we think is going on through these numbers. So this is the bulk of what we hear. I also want to take a moment to be able to perhaps, I know we have Chief in the back here for TP, for Transit Police, and we've got Flante Caver to my left. If there are questions, you saw some movement there in the personal security. Again, it's not a perfect process, but if there are questions regarding what we've done and what we continue to do to make these kind of markers tick upward, we're more than happy to answer that as well, as far as getting out there in the community and being able to make headway on making sure that we have those officers' positions filled. I know that we just had an event, I want to say a couple days ago, where we had more than 50 folks. So Ida, stay close to the microphone in case we have questions on that. And Doc, as far as the overtime that we might be experiencing in ridership, I'm assuming we may have questions on that, but we're ready to answer if you do.
Love, floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the overview. Great to see. But just a clarification question overall on TransPro and RTA setting baseline goals. So do the baseline goals, the fixed, are those goals fixed, or are those goal posts also changing over time, the baseline desired goals?
We set those at the beginning of the year, so those will be consistent for the entire year, the 4 quarters, and then there's another process that the agency will go through at the very start of next year to define what those goals are for the following year.
Yeah. So that's accurate. So we calibrate those on an annual basis to make sure that they're not too easy and too difficult. We want to also make sure that we're giving ourselves stretch goals. We started this process almost 3 years ago in the infancy stages, and I think the first year was a little rocky. We had to determine what actually was realistic for us and what the industry standard was. Every organization is different, as you are coming to find out through talking with a lot of different agencies. So some have paratransit, some have rail, some have only bus, and the demographics are different. So I think we've hit a sweet spot now where we can challenge ourselves and make it incremental, but we try to stick to the goals and stick to them for the entire year, and then we'll be able to take that process, as was mentioned, in Q4 in preparation for Q1 of 2025.
Thank you.
Follow-up?
Just a couple of reminders. What's the size of the pool, or the number of people that we are surveying each quarter? And then as a follow-up to that, is there a fluctuation, and how much fluctuation? And then lastly, are we touching base across the entire footprint of our service area?
So I'll go backwards. We are touching base. We have a careful sampling plan to make sure that all the routes are sampled based on the proportion of ridership on the system. So that's how the sampling plan works. There's relative consistency in the sample size. So we're collecting approximately 400, maybe a little bit more, 450 across each service. So fixed route bus gets a sample about 400 to 500. BRT gets a 400 to 500 sample, rail gets, and paratransit. Each of those yields a sample that gives us a margin of error of about plus or minus 5%. So when you see percentages change less than 5% from one quarter to the other quarter, we kind of consider that noise, right? It's not quite a statistically significant change. Once it goes beyond that 5% number, then we know it is a statistically significant change. And that's about standard for the industry. To bump that 5% margin of error up to 3%, you would have to collect a sample size of about 1,200 customers on each of those services, which is 3 times the number we currently do, and that's a much more involved process that takes a lot more effort and time and resource.
Thank you.
Mayor Kumar, did you have?
You stole some of my questions, so with new board members, so thank you for that. Just wanted to go back. I'm happy to see the Net Promoter Score is increased. My experience with Net Promoter Score in past lives, I've never seen it fluctuate that much in a short period of time, which gives me a little pause. I'm not saying the numbers aren't accurate. It just is something I've not seen. I've seen that it really you have to work at it. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, but relative to the safety, it's great to see that people are feeling safer. Given that this, I think, was taken in June, was that the last wave? Is there seasonality due to the amount of sunshine that is given at that period of time? Because, standing at a stop at 8 o'clock in June and standing there in December are 2 different things. And I wasn't sure, given your experience, whether you've seen that have an effect on that.
Yeah, from the NPS perspective, I agree that it's a tremendous fluctuation. One of the things that I will note is that the personal security has been the most important attribute to customers for several quarters. So I think that might account for some of the dramatic shift there. The second question,
Security and weather.
Weather. Yeah, that's a really fascinating question, and we'll have to take a look at that. We've been doing the surveying now for several waves, right? So we could actually go back and look at the months where it gets darker earlier and that sort of thing, and see if that has an impact, if we're seeing a seasonal difference. It's a really interesting question.
So I'll piggyback for a moment. First, with the Net Promoter Score, as James mentioned, I think the detail feeds into the overall. So as we start to get better for those top 3 areas, which the security was one, the cleanliness is another, and the safety, I think as we get better in those areas, the NPS also starts to rise. I would say as well, just the community exposure always helps as well. We tend to have a lot of exposure points in the summertime. So I actually think the weather helps the NPS, and not so much the security, but we'll look into that as well. But we're doing community festivals. We're out in parades. We're doing the Touch a Truck. You know, we've got all of kind of things that are happening where people are seeing us a lot more, where it's a little more difficult to have that same achievement in the wintertime. But I think our goal is to be able to keep those on par. So ideally, the strategy would be to raise the NPS in the good weather months and be able to hold that as a standard to make sure that we keep that going throughout the year. But I do say that even looking at anecdotally year over year, we tend to have a higher NPS in the months that we have higher exposure points. I will for a moment, and Chief, I hope you're staying by the microphone, and Doc as well, but for the security standpoint, if you wanted to add a little bit of 2 cents on what you're doing in the community, and what's going on as far as our ambassadors and help that we have that you see as far as the security points going up.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, board members. This is Chief Jones. I just want to say that one of the things that our agency is doing is making ourselves more visible out into the community. Our transit ambassadors have expanded their coverage from initially on the health line to all 3 red line, blue line, and green lines of the transit. So we are definitely more visible. We are also expanding our crisis intervention co-responder teams to go out into the community. They are not only assisting our officers, but they're also assisting other police departments when they have crisis-related incidents. And our hiring process is on par. We have opened up a new NTN test, which is an virtual test for officers who are interested in joining our police department. As a matter of fact, I am headed to Tri-C West this afternoon because we have a new recruit starting their police academy, which starts today. So I'm excited about that. I'd like Ida to expound a little bit, if that's okay, with some of the other events that we have going on.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Board. I wanted to let you know that as of this year, we've hired total 394 hires. Of that, 20 of those individuals go to the Transit Police Division, having 15 transit new police officers, as well as transit ambassadors and dispatcher. This past Thursday, we had an event, a first open house ever that we hosted for transit police. It was a call to the community where we said, if you have an interest in law enforcement, come to have a talk with us. The chief was sitting right where you all are with her entire team to talk about the day in the life of a transit police officer, the K-9 unit, the SWAT unit, the crisis intervention unit. I mean, everyone was here. The K-9 was here, and it was a wonderful event. We had close to 50 people here. It was an awesome event. We've touched all individuals in addition to asking for new leads. So those are one of the things that we're doing to make sure that we keep that pipeline full. In addition to having, outside of this event, we have 17 individuals that are in the pipeline for transit police that will be coming through that are in the background check process, in addition to 65 people that are in the pipeline for transit ambassador. So we're always planting the seeds for the future to make sure that our community stays safe.
Thank you. I appreciate that update. And just as a tickler as well, I was having a conversation with the chief earlier this week, and we want to make sure that we have, if you remember, we had a lot of things happening with our process and hiring, especially last year, to kind of package our openings in a way that was attractive to officers across the state. We have something that's called a lateral transfer. And so that if you're coming from the city or the county or another office of law enforcement, you can transfer into RTA without having penalty for time and that kind of thing. We work with you through that. I think we're batting average about 70% in retaining those folks through lateral transfers. So we want to make sure we can get 100 if we can. So we'll be looking at ways that we can start to think about having training for those folks that say, how do you actually make that adjustment? How do you make that shift? from different branches of law enforcement and be comfortable at RTA, because transit police is a little different. So we're trying to tweak the process. You got to remember as well, 100 is our golden number. I believe we're still budgeted for that as far as officers. So we're talking about a program that's a relatively small number, and we want to make sure that we keep those officers strong. All told, it's about 150 in the entire division for TP, but it's effective, and it doesn't take much to be able to make or break someone's day when it comes to transit police. So anything we can do to refine the process, we will and can do.
Hello, it's Anastasia. So I'm wondering do we know if the increase in safety is due to the expansion of the ambassador program, or if it's due to increase in our police force?
So I go to say, safety is a little different than security, but it's a good question. So the way that safety is perceived is the actual operations of the vehicle, right? Making sure that nothing is smoking, nothing is having an accident. Sure. So from a safety perspective, I think that that's a little different. But from a security perspective, I believe that that does have an immediate lasting impact. It doesn't drive the numbers. It's a portion of, it's a piece of. I'd say for the exposure rate, we've only got about 13 to 16 ambassadors at any given time, so they're not able to be everywhere. I don't think the ambassadors can take credit for the numbers being as high as they are, but when you combine them with our transit police, and you got to remember our ambassadors report into our transit police division, so they really are an extension of, and when they actually approach someone, usually they're in pairs and they have a transit police officer either near them or very accessible to them. So that combined, I think, actually has a lasting impact. And then your customer feels like they have resources. And that's the ideal that we want to get out there, that we're offering you resources before we offer citation or before we offer something else. We want to make sure that we help those that are in most need prior to reprimanding for whatever's going on the system.
Okay, thank you. And as a follow-up, do we have a breakdown of customer satisfaction as it relates to security across lines? So do we have those results for red line, green line, blue line, et cetera? And do they vary greatly, or are they pretty much consistent? What does that look like?
We have the breakdown by service, right? So rail will be all lumped into one there. They're relatively consistent, right? From quarter to quarter, the concern amongst customers across all three of those services has typically been the most important, has typically been personal security. And you could see that the improvement was parallel in all three services, very, very parallel in BRT and rail.
Thank you.
And just to follow up on that, if it's possible to break, sort the data in the future, at least from an internal perspective, between red line, green line, blue line, and where those surveys took place, that might be helpful just to drill down a bit. I think there may be some differences online, and that could be helpful to management, the board.
Good morning, Mayor Biasiata, members of the committee, and members of the board. I'm Flonse Kaver, the Chief Operating Officer of the organization. Mayor Kumar, you asked about, and Ms. Elder, you asked about being able to break the information down. I don't know if we do it by red, blue, and green line, but we are able to do so by bus route. And we use those bus routes in we have a quarterly meeting with transit police. Nick Bigger, who's not here, handles customer service for our division. But we're able to give them where customers feel the most unsafe by route. And then they're able to do what we call bus ride checks. The chief, who's always a little bit shy and doesn't talk about all the things that she does, but one of the programs that has been yielding very good success for us is that we've created a process whereby our police will move to the front of a bus that's coming down a road and catch it at a bus stop. The police will board the bus, ask the operator if they're doing okay, walk through the bus, come out the back door, just to make sure that people know that we're there. So we've had a lot of folks who say, I never see the police. And so that's one of the programs that we track. We track which routes they go on and when they go on it by shift. And the chief and her team provide that information to me every 2 weeks. And we do the same in transit stations as well as rail stations. So We're increasing where the police are seeing, but we're doing so based upon data and calls for service and/or the surveys.
Thanks, Doc. And also, I know we've got Natoya Walker-Minor in here to be able to answer any questions you may have from marketing and external affairs. So I want to make sure that we mention that as well, because the media perception is oftentimes the customer perception of how we actually perform in the field, so to speak. And so we're talking about having future campaigns to highlight some of the heroes that do work here, and that will have a special highlight on transit police and also the everyday operator, the everyday mechanic. And those kind of campaigns make a real difference so that people start to humanize the RTA and you stop to look at it as just a vehicle, but actual person that's driving that vehicle or operating it or maintaining it or actually helping you in a situation where you do need help. So if you do have questions on that, we can always take them afterward. I know that we're on the clock, but I wanted to mention that because that goes a long way as well. Our digital media is out there. We have a few new hires. I'm not sure that they're in the room now, but at some point we'll introduce you to them. And those, I think they're both female, and then we have a couple of others as well. Marketing is always dominated by the ladies. I don't know why. But we tend to have those folks out there that are really getting us out there on social media and also managing the message when it comes to social media, also responding to customers, getting the information out, making sure that people know that we're out there and can take advantage of our services make a huge difference.
Thank you.
I have one
Mr. Sleesman.
quick follow-up question. Thank you. To Trustee Elder's question, when we ask customers the question about feeling safe riding the bus, do we distinguish between safety and security on that question, or do we just ask, do you feel safe?
Yeah, I don't know if you, so we did have a direct distinction that was made, I want to say 2 quarters ago. That was something that we started in 2024. We had a robust conversation, legal, safety, operations, and we used to combine them. We now distinguish the two so that we know whether we're talking about, like I said, if something is smoking or if someone had an accident, erratic driving, versus having an experience of personal threat or violence, that kind of issue.
But is this number that we're looking at the combination of those two?
No, they're separate. Do you want to go into that?
I'd have to check the questionnaire to confirm, because to see exactly how the question is phrased. But I believe that the majority of that is personal security. Like that's the bulk of that. I'm not sure if that's a combination of safety and security. I believe it's just personal security, but let me check and get back to you on that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And I will say that there's a breakdown while he's checking, and we can get back to you after the session. On the departmental or the divisional scorecards, because remember the one that you're seeing is the agency-wide. We also have each division having their own scorecard, and that is separated out on the scorecard that pertains to safety and security. They are a separate denomination, so we can see the difference right there as well. But we'll check the overall.
Thank you. Ms. Welch.
I don't know if I've asked this before, but is it possible to get some of the qualitative data? I know it's raw, and I know a lot of agencies don't like to typically give that out when there's quantitative, but I guess I'm just similar to Trustee Elder and Trustee Sleesman's line of questioning, and quite frankly, our president as well. I'm thinking more so around who felt safe and why they feel safe, or the lack thereof, I guess, and where that is in as far as the context around, like, I'm just thinking about our children, our students who get on the bus quite regularly, and whether or not they feel safe and how they view safety compared to somebody who is coming from the west side of Cleveland or coming from the southeast side or is on paratransit. And I think those experiences are very different. And because I'm in education and I'm hearing our students talk about their experiences on the RTA, I guess would love to see, just from a qualitative perspective, just because I think a lot of us are transit nerds and like to read through the data anyway. So we will take the time to look at what people are actually saying. But I'm just wondering if that would be possible to get any of that, if that's maybe too extensive, because I personally would love to see the experience of somebody who's coming down for a game versus a student who is taking the 15 quite regularly to get to Jane Addams or John Hay or whatever.
We could, it's not that difficult to cross-tab, from a quantitative perspective, to cross-tabulate the data and to look at perceptions of personal security by different groups that are using the system, right? And we can do that by trip purpose, right? So we could look at that for people who say our primary purpose is going to work versus people who say my primary purpose is entertainment or school. That absolutely can be done from a quantitative perspective. Yeah. From a qualitative perspective, I'm not certain, I'm pretty certain actually, that there isn't a lot of room on the survey that's administered on board vehicles to record qualitative, in other words, open box, long written out information, for the simple reason is there isn't time, right? We have to make sure we get all of that survey information before that person gets up and gets off the bus. And if we lose that, that's sort of a lost survey. So I would say that, we could maybe look at maybe customer support and maybe some of the qualitative information that comes in through that portal as a good indication of what might be going on.
If I could make a suggestion, what we could do is see if there are any patterns in the quantitative data and then follow up with, we could have a separate follow-up of like, okay, if we see these patterns here, we can go out and search for those answers with folks and do a separate, initiative of some sort of asking of like, hey, we see this pattern on this route with this kind of person, what's going on here? That could be a targeted question that we don't have to ask to everyone necessarily if there's not if a pattern doesn't reveal itself.
So I appreciate all of I'm just writing down notes as I hear kind of the ideas. I want to also make sure that we protect the anonymity of our customers, because sometimes when you get into kind of profiling, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but when you get into that category, then you have a reticence to folks to give you their input, because then you have identifying information about them that may get them a little hesitant to actually just give information. It's interesting, anecdotally, I've been a surveyor before for transportation early on in my career, and it's quite the, you have to be engaging. It's quite the feat to get people to answer your question before their bus stop comes up. So being quick and to the point is helpful, but to your point, Mr. Sleesman, I think we can think about ways to maybe have additional effort that may not be tied initially to this survey, but that we have some sort of roundabout way to figure out what a general, I don't want to say profile, but a roster of our customers look like without tying it to this. I'd be hesitant to do this because I think we would actually get into a territory of Big Brother, but there are ways to be able to look at what we've got. So we'll go back, crunch the numbers that we have, see what patterns we can identify through the data we already have on hand, and then we can also think about ways that we can approach the customer base without getting into survey fatigue. That's also something that we don't want to dip into, but I understand your question, so we'll think about ways we can come back to you with more data for sure.
Thank you.
Just one more question, and forgive me if you've done this already, but can we have a copy of the actual survey? I don't know that I've ever seen it.
So what we can do, we'd be more than happy to kind of go through the process with you so we can explain it. I want to make sure that you're getting data that makes sense for you. And we also don't want to, again, provide surveys that we have in an anonymous way to be put on the public face. I think that would kind of water down what we have, but we're more than happy to go through it with you so you can see what the survey looks like. That's not a problem. So we can also do that in a different session that's tailored for the board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions from the board? No? Great. Hearing none, I'll make a motion. I move to adjourn at 9:47. Do I have a second?
Second, Welch.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
I'd like to call to order the RTA Committee of the Whole. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kumar.
Here.
Ms. Welch.
Here.
Mayor Biassiata.
Here.
Ms. Elder.
Here.
Mr. Love.
Here.
Reverend Lucas. Ms. McPherson.
Here.
Ms. Pachetti. Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
And Mayor Weiss.
Here.
We have 8 committee members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We have one item today on the agenda. It's the internal audit report, the presentation of the second quarter 2024 internal audit report. We had an internal audit committee meeting last week with Mr. Garofoli and his entire team. Just as a reminder to those, we have gone to quarterly internal audit committee meetings, and I think those have been very beneficial, I think, for your team and also for the board members that were present as part of the committee. It's been a great dialogue. It helps us understand the good work that you do and the recommendations that you bring to management to improve operations. So I want to thank you for your efforts on that. And at that point, I'm just going to turn it over to you, Tony.
Thank you, Mayor Kumar. And good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the Committee of the Whole, the leadership team, and guests. For the record, I am Anthony Garofoli, Executive Director of Internal Audit. And as Mayor Kumar just said, I'm here to present the results of the internal audit activities for the second quarter 2024. Please refer to this report that is in your package and or at the table at the front. Again, we presented these activities in detail at the Audit Committee. Today's presentation is a summary. Beginning on pages 3 through 5. Sorry. Thank you, Florence. Beginning on pages 3 through 5 is the 2024 Internal Audit Plan, which was referred by the committee to the full board and approved in March at the board meeting. Per our professional audit standards, the plan is aligned with the GCRTA strategic plan and performance metrics, including some of those you just heard: customer experience, community impact, financial health, and employee investment. On pages 6 through 11, please find the result of 10 audit projects completed during the second quarter. Those were employee travel expense and reimbursement, an audit of the heavy rail motor remanufacture process, a post-delivery Buy America review of the 20 paratransit coaches received and now in service, the traction performance measurement program, which you just heard in the last presentation, an audit of the Tower City Common Area Maintenance Agreement, electronic funds transfer, transit police overtime and compensation time, an audit of the City of Shaker Heights maintenance expenses agreement, an audit of our customer service center at Tower City, and the community shelter investment program. We met with management, received the responses to our audit recommendations, and released the reports. We'll track the implementation of the recommendations in our audit management system. There were no issues for board consideration. On pages 12 through 16, please find the results of our continuous audit program, where we develop audit scripts to interrogate system data in real time, completing 100% audits for all these transactions. These audits included fare collection, our purchasing card transactions, nepotism, and an audit of our payroll. We share the results with appropriate stakeholders. Again, there are no issues for board consideration. On pages 17 through 21 in the report, we focused on the rail car replacement program. This was a request from the audit committee and special focus in our audit plan. These results include audit activities related to the entire program with a focus on change orders and contractor payments. On page 17, you'll see that management is engaged in the pre-manufacture design review process, scheduled for completion in September. Although there were no change orders during the second quarter, I will report that there was a change order in August this month. Management issued one change order with Siemens Mobility contract. This is a study of 2 additional rail profiles for $51,913.87. We conducted a change order audit to provide assurance on compliance with procurement policies and procedures. No exceptions were noted. I also included a copy of that change order log, which is maintained by the procurement department, on page 18. And then for your information, the total value of the Siemens Mobility contract and change orders is now $195,589,849.21. Total payments to the contractor as of August 8th are $64,708,815.83 per our financial management system records. This section of the report also includes a summary of the Federal Transit Administration's project management oversight efforts and a summary of other consulting services and railcar program infrastructure modifications. Internal audit will engage in other audit activities as we continue to assess risk and compliance. On pages 22 through 28 are projects in various stages of completion. Please note we added updates to provide our readers transparency and an information status. The section includes projects where field work is complete and we are waiting on management response to release the report, also projects that we're actively completing. We will report on these projects in the next audit committee meeting. On page 29, please find the details and update of 3 special requests and emerging issues in our role as Inspector General for the authority. We will share the results of these investigations with appropriate stakeholders in accordance with the audit charter. We will follow up on all outstanding recommendations. On page 30 is our efforts to work with external auditors. Please note the state auditor completed the 2023 financial and single audit. The results were shared with the Board of Trustees at the June meeting. The auditor state released their final report on July 16th, 2024 to the public. We are also working with the Federal Administration Program Management Oversight for the railcar project, meeting on a monthly basis with management, and the oversight consultant. The remainder of this report is informational. We will continue to follow up on all recommendations until we validate corrective actions are implemented. We participate in several steering committees and meetings to learn and share risks, management strategies. On page 34, you'll find the training that we attended during the quarter, and the last page is our staff profiles. I'll take any questions from the Committee of the Whole at this time.
Anyone? Yeah, I know we had a very robust discussion at the Audit Committee meeting. I think most of the questions probably were answered at that point, but thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Kumar. Have a good day.
You too. Okay, I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. I'd like to call to order the RTA Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. A roll call, please.
Mayor Biassiata.
Here.
Ms. Elder.
Here.
Mayor Kumar.
Here.
Mr. Love.
Here.
Reverend Lucas. Ms. McPherson.
Here.
Ms. Pachetti. Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
And Ms. Welch.
Here.
We have 8 board members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Item number 3, certification regarding notice of meeting.
Mr. President, I first advise that notice of this meeting has been published more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting, that the usual notification has been given to the news media and other interested persons, and that all requirements of the Ohio Revised Code and rules and bylaws of this board regarding notice of meeting have been complied with.
Thank you very much. Item number 4, approval of the July 30th, 2024 board minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion Welch.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Item number 5, public comment, 2 minutes, and this would be for agenda items. Do we have anyone in person that would like to talk about an agenda item? Any? Yeah, wasn't it a contract? No. Yeah, it'll be the second public comment section, ma'am. Thank you. Anyone on the phone?
We do have.
I'm sorry, do we have one here? I'm sorry.
Okay.
It was the agenda about the safety paratransit. Sorry. The paratransit, about the stats. On paratransit, there's the driver is the first person for the safety regarding the straps and the this, that, and the other. They have a very different ideal, because if they can't physically do it right or don't have the proper restraints, they tend to not do it. So that's my safety. And they sometimes, mostly contractors, don't want to do it. And it becomes a me, them. And they take that as argumentative. Well, that's my safety, and I'm the only one to speak up. And with the complaint issue, you have to dial in. Somebody else takes the complaint, the this, that, and other. But there's a system set up, but there's nobody to address it. I'm still waiting on issues from a year ago. There's no tracking number that they say that'll be given. There's nobody this, that, and the other. But a lot of times it goes to their dispatch, not RTA. RTA is never notified about it, and it goes to the swept under and out the door. But let them, they'll call and make it seem like I'm confrontational, but they never say, I'm in a wheelchair and I'm refusing to be transported because their driver doesn't know how to safely and make it seem like I'm just an irate passenger, and they ask me to be removed from the bus. Mr. Butler, could you get off the, yes, I'll get off the bus. Thank you. And now I get letters because I'm irate, I'm violent. I say, I asked for an investigation. Their company does an investigation. RTA never knows that, hey, this man was in a wheelchair. They never divulged that. I'm still waiting on stuff a year ago, yet alone a week ago. Where's the checks and balances? Who checks up on them? And just like on the main line and the RTA, you have ambassadors. On the paratransit, who checks up on the contractors? Usually on the big bus, the repercussions and it's different. But when they violate you on the contractors, it's a whole different game.
Yeah, okay, thank you. You have a comment on that?
Yep. So we've got our paratransit director here, as well as our deputy for operations. What I'd like to do is follow up with you before you leave, and then we can get detail from you so that we can go back and make sure that you've got an answer, and make sure that we also have the information detailed on our side. So we'll make sure to do that. I will say that I appreciate all of the comments, and I want to make sure that we get to the comments in the area that make sense. So if we can take comments, if I can, for resolutions only now. We do have another one, but we've got yours on record as well. I do, sir. We'll follow up with you for sure.
What's that? But you've been trained, but then you ask, what's that?
I understand. And we'll get together with you to get your information before you leave. I think that there are a couple other comments that are appropriate for the secondary public comment to make sure that we can get through the resolutions. So we're going to go through the resolutions. We'll have the second comment, and then we'll make sure that we follow up with each of you before you leave.
Okay, great. All right, anything on the phone?
In the back, do we have any callers?
We have two callers.
Okay.
For agenda.
Caller 5841, you're on the line.
Hello, this is Dante Taylor, and I would like to know how can we get more dispatchers and more drivers on paratransit because they're being late to come pick us up when we have appointments and other things too. And we would like to know how can we work with you in trying to get more drivers out there so we can get to our appointments in a timely manner.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. I think the CEO General Manager is taking notes on that, and we have your phone number, so if we need to contact you, I think management will respond. Any other callers?
We have one more caller, caller 0820. You can go.
Good morning, everyone. This is Reverend Pinckney. I hope everyone's doing well. In terms of the resolution, which is the portion of the meeting that we're in right now, Mrs. Bursong Terry, I heard even the committee report, and for this resolution, the numbers are not adding up. And I'm going to summarize it to that. All of the resolutions, the numbers are not adding up, and there's still disparity between the economic classes and the racial classes and the general classes in our transportation system in these resolutions, because I still see more opportunities on the west side in the wealthy communities than I do in the poor working class and the working middle class and even the poor communities. And I would like for you to correct that, and I would like a conversation with you. I will be back for the non-resolution items.
Thank you very much. Anything on web?
There are no web comments.
Thank you very much. Okay, item number 6, Board Governance Committee reports. Items 6 through 13. Are there any committee or ad hoc committee reports? Any updates from trustees on the activities in those committees?
Only that there's a ad hoc technology committee meeting on September 16th at 4 p.m. But
thank you very much for notification. Okay, item number 14, introduction of new employees and announcements of promotions. I believe we have Ida Ford.
Good morning, Board President Kumar, GM, CEO India Birdsong Terry, and Board of Trustees, and also the guests. My name is Ida Ford Marshall, here to talk about August hires. And they say it's all about the ops. It's all about the ops this month. We're having, starting out with our operators, Jasmine Hart, Jonar McGee, Felicia Rogers, Henry Sanders, David Tibbetts, Philip Swoop, Darnell Wright, Keith Terrell, and Chanel Lattimore. Shayna Belcher, Julio Santiago, Taj Dudley, Robbie Collier, Raymond Hill, Michael Simmons, Sharday Roberts, Dante Smith, and Gilbert Evans. Continuing on with our operators, Eric Maxwell, Jeffrey Washington, Jeremiah Spikes, Dawn Pinckney, Patrick Grisette, Kaylin Tinsley, and we're moving into our laborers, Doc. Damon Brown, laborer. Jermaine Marshall, laborer. Devon James, laborer. David Rapp, equipment servicer. John Colston, equipment servicer. Edward Green, line maintainer. Andre Kincaid, hostler, and I know Janet will be happy. Chadwick Schmidt, associate counsel in litigation. Let's give them all a round of applause for that. A lot of hard work. Our August promotions, including myself here, Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition. We also have, thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you. Also wanted to highlight Fiona Gibbons is the new Talent Acquisition Manager. Fiona, if you can raise your hand. In our HR department, Shanae Hubbard, Manager, Service Quality. Avery Rogers, Manager, Service Quality. Kimberly Wright, Transportation Manager, Paratransit. Jeffrey Macco, Manager of Service Planning. And Donald Chariba, Engineering Project Manager in Facilities. I know you're all happy about that too. So that rounds everything off. Do you have any questions for me?
No.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and just continue the good work.
Appreciate it.
When you come up here, I always have a smile because you're really working hard to fill those vacancies and get qualified candidates in. So we appreciate your efforts.
We appreciate it too. The team's working hard. Thank you.
Okay, item number 15 is introduction of resolutions. And just as a reminder to the audience, all these resolutions have been vetted in committee in a prior meeting. The trustees have reviewed it. So this is simply an opportunity to vote on each of those resolutions. The heavy lifting has been done in prior meetings. Resolution 2024-63.
Authorizing contract number 2024-041 with Geismar North America Incorporated for the procurement of a rail line car in an amount not to exceed $5,165,257, RTA Development Fund, Fleet Management Department budget.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from trustees? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion Welch.
Is there a second?
Second, Love.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2024-64.
Authorizing contract number 2024-76 with Centos Corporation to provide shop uniform rental and maintenance for 3 years in an amount not to exceed $941,941.46 and in an amount not to exceed $331,399.73 and $342,335.92 for each of the 2 option years, respectively, for a total 5-year contract not to exceed $1,615,677.11, General Fund, Fleet Management Department budget.
Thank you very much. You've heard that resolution. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 2024-65.
Authorizing contract number 2024-81 with IWI Incorporated for fall protection, inspection, and repair authority-wide in an amount not to exceed $86,427 for a base period of 3 years with 2 one-year options and amounts not to exceed $31,367 and $32,646, respectively, for a total contract amount not to exceed $150,440 for a 5-year period. General Fund, Service Management Department budget.
Okay, you've heard that resolution as well. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion Welch.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution carries. Resolution 2024-66.
Authorizing contract number 2024-101 with Retrovex Incorporated, DBA Access, to provide records storage, management, and destruction services as required in an amount not to exceed $425,000 for a period of 5 years. General Fund, Support Services, Department budget.
Okay, you've heard that resolution. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2024-67.
Authorizing contract number 2024-102 with Agile Network Builders, LLC, for Marks Network Connectivity Maintenance Services to provide wireless digital communication services through the State of Ohio Department of Administrative Services Cooperative Purchasing Program in an amount not to exceed $148,800 for a 5-year period. General Fund, Information Technology Application Services Department budget.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Mayor Weiss.
Second, Love.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2024-68.
Authorizing contract number 2024-115 with Oracle America Incorporated to provide Oracle infrastructure as a service subscription services for a period of 1 year in an amount not to exceed $305,830. General Fund, Management Information Services Department budget.
Great. You've heard that resolution. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve Resolution 24-68.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2024-69.
Authorizing the purchase of casualty insurance from various insurance underwriters through USI Insurance Services, LLC, and Price Forbes and Partners Limited, or their successors, for a period of 12 months in a total amount not to exceed $2,270,191, insurance and general funds, risk management department budget.
You've heard the reading of that resolution. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion. To approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Item number 16, we have the Secretary Treasurer's Report. I think we have Kay Satula filling in today.
Thanks. Good morning, President Kumar, members of the board. My name is Kay Satula. I'm the director of the Office of Management and Budget. And since Raj is on vacation, I am taking over. At least for this presentation.
Good cover.
That was very definitive, Kay.
I'm texting Raj now.
The annual inflation rate in the U.S. has decreased from a high of 9.1% in June 2022 to 2.9% in July 2024. The Federal Open Market Committee, or FOMC, will meet next September 17th and 18th. Interest rates remain steady at 5.5% as the FOMC is monitoring economic conditions. In July 2024, ridership was 13.1% above 2023 levels. Through July, all modes have seen an increase in ridership. The top three are light rail at 16.1%, Healthline at 15.7%, and bus at 11.8%. July fare revenue is 12.3% above 2023, 20.1% above June 2024, so prior month, and 14.9% above budget. Currently, we are 14.7% year-to-date above 2023. For sales and use tax, August receipts are from May activity due to the 3-month lag. We are 0.94% above higher than August 2023 receipts, and year-to-date 1.3% higher than 2023. 15 of the 23 categories were positive in August. Online sales, 5.8% higher. Regular and statewide sales, 0.6% higher. And motor vehicles and watercraft, 2.2% higher. And this is some selected data within the board package. Total long-term debt at the end of 2023 is $30.3 million. Average investment yield year-to-date is 4.47%. Under our cash and investments, the unrestricted in the general fund is $32.4 million, and the restricted for set-asides for specific purchases are $347.2 million. So total cash and investments, $379.6 million. Any questions?
Questions from the board? Great overview. Nice to see that ridership continues to move in a positive direction and shoot for that 2019 figure. Thank you. All right, item 17, General Manager's Report.
All right, hello again. India Birdsong Terry. I'll be pretty quick on this one. These are good news stories. On August 6th at the Hayden District, for those of you who may not be aware, Hayden is one of our largest bus facilities where our CNG vehicles are housed. And we recently got a not so much a surprise visit, but a planned visit by Congresswoman Shontel Brown. And Shontel Brown has been a staunch supporter of us for quite a while. She was there to have a congratulatory visit with us for the recent FTA, Federal Transit Authority Administration grant award of $10.6 million. For those of you who may not have been aware, the $10.6 million is to be used in support of the electric vehicle pilot program. That's been in our long-range strategic plan for a while. So it's great to be able to have some dollars to put toward that dream or that effort. It will be piloted out of Hayden, and that's the reason why we were very much excited to host her there. So wanted to say thank you again to not only the FTA, but to Congresswoman Shontel Brown. Nothing but smiles. And also thank you to our Vice Chair for being able to celebrate that with us, Lauren Welch. It was a good day. Also wanting to be able to advise you of our impact on the community. We had the Cleveland Puerto Rican Day Parade on August 4th. This was in Cleveland, Ohio. We had a lot of participation. You see Reverend Lucas, one of our board members here at the front of the line, and a lot of our TP staff. This is another good example of what we talked about, getting out there, making sure people see our faces. And we have a lot of different family members, not only just those who work here at RTA, but extended family of those staffers as well. We do have our ERG as well, Latinos Unidos, that was there in full force. That's our employee resource group. If you may recall, we have 4 of them. Latinos Unidos is one of those Fab 4, we'll call them. So great participation, we appreciate it. Also, the Cuyahoga County Family Fun Day. Again, another good news story, a lot happening in the beginning of August. This was at Public Square, where we had a lot of participation. You'll see our ambassadors there in the red. You see TP in the blue. You see a lot of maintenance folks out there. And this is where we had a community resource fair, just out there for kids, school supply, giveaways, a lot of opportunities for us to get out there. This has a lot to do with that NPS score you see kind of inching up there. Also, we had the great honor of hosting the National Traction Power Training Consortium. I had to make sure I got that right. It's a tongue twister. We work in the industry through a lot of the consortiums, whether it's bus, rail, apprentice programs, and you'll see at the bottom, it has the Traction Power Training Consortium emblem down there. We work through different organizations such as NTI, that's a training mechanism through the industry. We also work with transit workforce. A lot of times they reach out from us. Their offices are usually in the DC area because of the legislative arm and say, hey, would you like to be able to host X, Y, and Z? Well, this X, Y, and Z was an actual convening of professors, so to speak, within the industry, and those could be foremen, those could be supervisors, those could be directors of Traction Power. We have our Traction Power and Way division, which is headed up by Teresa Moody. If you remember her, she is our Power and Way director. She's not here today, but her team has done a fantastic job alongside Wendy Talley and her group for training and development. Ed Kowicki is our leader there for rail training to make sure that we hosted those folks. A lot of the folks that were here for the APTA approved industry training standard conversation came from different agencies. So we had people here from Charlotte, we had people here from Atlanta, we had people here from all across the country to make sure that we could be the first in line to talk about the academic side of Traction and Power and Way. So great to make sure that we're in those conversations and remain on the cerebral end of the conversation, not just the work put later on down the line. We also were participatory in the American Public Transportation Association Workforce Summit. This was the first workforce summit. APTA has quite a few conferences going on what seems a monthly basis, but this was actually the first workforce summit that was put together by APTA. They have, much like a lot of the DEI efforts that are going on, workforce is also sort of a niche area that you see APTA really engaging in on a permanent basis. This is the output of that. So I was able to attend that alongside with a few others in our team. Reverend Lucas was also part of this. He actually is still there and being able to really just review some of the ideas that are going on regarding recruitment, retention, and reskilling. We also had Nick Bigger, that's our Hayden District Director, was there as well. Darnell Morris, which is our VP for the ATU. That's a lot of acronyms. He's part of our union leadership. We also had a paratransit operator that was there in attendance and really had a great opportunity to get on board and talk about our mentorship program. So Darnell and Nick were peas in a pod, and that's an unusual sight when you see the union and management working alongside each other for the greater good in public. A lot of the work is done under the hood. This was actually an exposure point for them, which was great for us as an industry and as RTA. I was also able to actually give APTA's first TED Talk, which was quite a daunting task. It was great to be able to talk about the importance of executive leadership and the impact that we have as leaders on culture change. I talked about some of the things that are bulleted there, including advocacy and audience education, which is what we strive to do. So it was a great opportunity, and I appreciate everybody for their participation in that. Also, right on the heels of that, we hosted our RTA Rail Rodeo. This was headed off at our rail district. Sean Thompson, our district director, did a phenomenal job alongside Teresa Moody, as I mentioned, for Power and Way. The entire team was fantastic. We had a lot of folks out there, had a lot of families as well. It was a great opportunity. Get some barbecue. They very much are in love with the smoker that our team has actually put together on their own, built from scratch, and really had a great opportunity to have competitions about being the best of the best internally at RTA on the rail side. So we were able to give out quite a few awards for that. Some monetary as well, and we really are excited about continuing that on an annual basis. And I believe, Doc, if I'm not mistaken, the bus rodeo is coming up as well. We haven't had that in how many years? Way more than we should. So we're gonna, 15. So we're gonna go ahead and start that up again. That's a personal penchant for me. I think we have to make sure that we have in-house competition before we can actually compete on the national stage. I like to win, I don't like to lose, so we're gonna go ahead and compete within ourselves and make sure that we can hit that national competition at some point in future years for the bus side, and rail will get there as well. So with that, I think that brings me to the close unless there are any questions.
Any questions from the board? Great, thank you so much. Next, President's Report. Vice President Welsh and I have been working with CEO Birdsong Terry on the agenda for our fall retreat, trying to keep in mind that we have a fair number of new members and making sure we have enough foundational information, also strategic information, trying to find a balance on that. So we've been having a few meetings on that. And any comments on that, Vice President Welsh?
No, I'm excited for us to move forward and do the good work.
And sort of coupling along with that, a lot of good information is published by the authority on operational metrics, financial metrics. They're all in different spots. So I've been working with management to put together sort of an executive summary for board members that we can update annually. I think it's a good reference sheet. It will be a good reference sheet for all of us, and especially when we're attending conferences, we're out in the public, just some high-level information that we can have at our fingertips. And I think it will also be helpful to new board members as they come on board to have that as, again, a foundation for their time here serving RTA. And that concludes that report. Is there any old business? Any new business? Okay, item 21, public comment on public transit-related items. Do we have any in-person comments? Yes, sir.
My name is James White. I'm a 29-year retiree from RTA. I'm also a disabled veteran. The CRT program, as far as your, what do they call it, the tracking, the operators direct them how to get to people's houses, there's a flaw in it. Because my address, it brings people to Turneytown. Now, when I call the dispatchers, when they say I'm a no-show, I have a problem with them understanding there's no need for me to lie about it. The bus ain't here. I live 4 blocks away from Turneytown. And that system takes me, when when they're following it, I go to Brecksville. I done been in Independence, but not to Garfield. So I think that needs to be addressed. And then I had another occasion where I was left at Turney and Ella for an hour at 100-degree temperature because they said I was on the wrong side of the loop. I'm in the loop. I'm confined to a scooter. And the bus pulls up, she looks up, you went in the right spot, and takes off. Subsequently, the bus behind her did the same thing. There's got to be a better system. And this young man here, he's right. There's no follow-up. They get no tracking. I didn't talk to all the districts, community service, so now I'm here at the board. Because I feel it's dirty laundry within RTA. I don't need to take it to Channel 19. Handle your business in-house, and then you don't have to go out of house. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And I know the gentleman before referred to contractors, which I understood to be third-party vendors. In your experience, was that RTA Paratransit, or was that a third party?
It's both.
It's both.
Both of them use the same track.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
It's been my experience. Thank you, dear. Okay. It's been my experience. I was at the last meeting, and that's why I was determined to be here. First of all, I want to thank Emily, Nick, and Ida. Emily sat out on that hot bench with me and deciphered my hieroglyphics, my notes from the last time. I have observed Provide a Ride do a lot of inappropriate things. A week and a half ago, a driver came into a Metro, called my last name, turned around, walked out. I stumbled down that incline, and I mean stumbled. I am legally blind. He leaned on his car. I got to his car. I said, "Are you Provide a Ride?" He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I think you guys missed the class on how to treat handicapped and senior citizens." He said, "Well, sweetheart, you should have told me." I think I was more pissed about the sweetheart. I did not even want to get in his vehicle or be near him. There have been other instances. I have started talking to people and drivers. There is an instance where a gentleman, a driver, was on a woman's porch, and I saw a picture of him eating a slice of watermelon while he waited for her to come to the door. Also, I was told on a paratransit that a gentleman driver asked if the two women on the vehicle wanted anything from the store. He went in, he came out with 2 alcoholic beverages, proceeded to drink one, and asked a question and said, "I'm going to have mine." I was told that this woman videotaped the whole experience and sent it in to RTA somewhere. I don't have facts, I just have faces, and I have a first name. It has been an experience and a half with these contractors. Not the other ones, C&G Logistics, their people are pretty cool. But Provide a Ride, that's all they provide is a ride, and it's quite bumpy one. And that's all. I'm very upset about this, very upset. And I hope you take me seriously. And I, like the gentleman, would like to keep it in-house and not go to Channel 8 as my channel.
Great, thank you for your comments. You need any additional information?
Yeah. So I'd like to say for the 3 folks in the front row, and I know we're going to get to you in 1 second, Lou. For the 3 folks in the front row for the paratransit experience, I'm asking that we have staff follow up with them before they leave. Do not let them leave the building without the detail. I appreciate the experience that you've got and also the anecdotal information. So I want to make sure that for whatever anecdotal, we keep it there until we can verify, but we'll get that information to look through our records as well. And we will follow up with our third party. Provide a Ride and any other paratransit operator, because they wear our emblem. They wear our 3 letters, and that's important, and we need to make sure that we rectify anything that was not the best of experiences. So we absolutely do take you seriously, and I appreciate the time that you gave to show up here, because I know that this is not the most of convenient locations for everybody. So we'll make sure that we do that. And then for our staff members, if you make sure that you report back to me on what we're doing to be able to address those concerns, and we appreciate your time. So we will follow up with you. Please don't leave. We've got a little bit of an extended session, I believe, for executive session. So for those staffers who are not in that meeting, so for Dr. Caver and Chief Jones, if you need, and also Nick, if you need to call someone to be able to augment that while you two are in those sessions, please do that now so that we can follow up with them while that session goes on. Thanks.
Yes, Lou.
Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Lou. When COVID-19 pandemic started, one of the grassroots organization, the acronym is NOBLE, conducted a paratransit survey. We did had opportunity to make a presentation at the ADA subcommittee under the CAC. And we just finished the new follow-up, which is a paratransit focus group. And the issues our writers here are presented are part of the issues you probably have even heard from me talking about these periodically. So I would like all the board members to know that we will have a presentation about the result of this focus group, which is done this year, to the ADA subcommittee first. And I believe the director of paratransit service, and later he will have a very good presentation again to present the whole thing to the board. And I really wish all the issues we are talking about here, the true reasons people get suspended from utilizing the service, the actual service we actually experience from rider side. That's why I suggested in the past, the questions in our quarterly survey should have some of them as met our rider's point of view, not only administration point of view. And I wish we can still work towards that. In that case, the survey will give the true picture of the reality, not just some peachy cheering numbers to only pat our shoulders. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else in person that would like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none. Do we have anyone on the phone, Teresa?
In the back, do we have anyone online?
We have one caller on the line. Caller 0820. You can go ahead.
Good morning again. This is Reverend Pamela Pinckney, presidential candidate for the United States of America for this 2024 election, candidate identification number P406363. And I'm a bit offended by what you said, Mrs. Birdsong, Terry, promoting Chantel Brown to make it seem like she has made some type of financial contribution to our transportation system. Nobody, not Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, George Bush, Kamala Harris Imhoff, Lou, nobody has made more sacrifices and seen to it that more money has been generated through this transportation system than I have. And I can't get even a positive image or something positive said about me through the media platforms that you have, and my concerns still are not addressed. I'm offended by you. I'm insulted by you. And our transportation system is on a downward slope because you all want to play politics. And it's amazing because when I ran for president of the United States of America in 2008, when Barack Obama first ran, I was using public transportation that ended up being beaten up, tortured, thrown in the Cuyahoga County jail, and my information was changed and my ballot disappeared in the election. And I was given a suicide blanket told to kill myself. Using public transportation, but you want to promote these women that are not about the right thing.
Reverend
I'm
Pinckney,
also concerned with the mere fact that a community leader's husband was injured on paratransit, but he wasn't locked down, and he rolled off the vehicle and ended up in the emergency room. So where is the politics really going? And And I want a conversation with you on this in person, Mrs. Birdsong here. You're not that busy.
0820. Your
End of
time is up.
discussion.
Do we have anyone else on the phone, Teresa?
Anyone else?
There are no other callers.
Anything on the web?
And no web comments.
Just a comment, if I may. Again, we ask all members of the public, whether you're in person or whether you're calling in, to remain respectful of the work that our brothers and sisters do at RTA. This is also not only a meeting, but at times it is a celebration of the wins that we have to make sure that we can continue with state of good repair projects. We are a non-committal agency when it comes to politics. We appreciate and we support all members of our delegation, and we will continue to be able to name them when we have celebratory events. So we appreciate the comments. We also take your comments with a realistic viewpoint, with respect. Just a reminder to all of our audience members that we will continue to celebrate the wins and also acknowledge our areas of improvement, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
And I would concur with that, any comments need to be done in a respectful manner. And we're open to hearing your comments and following up on them for sure. We just need to do it in that manner. All right, item number 22. There is an executive session requested to enable the board to conference with GCRTA attorneys for information gathering, fact-finding, and to receive legal advice. Is there a motion for that?
So moved. Mayor Weiss.
Second, Welch.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Biassiata.
Yes.
Ms. Elder.
Yes.
Mayor Kumar.
Yes.
Mr. Love.
Yes.
Ms. McPherson.
Yes.
Mr. Sleesman.
Yes.
Mayor Weiss.
Yes.
And Ms. Welch.
Yes.
You have 8 ayes and none opposed.
Okay, and just for the audience, we are going to go into executive session. When we come out, I will cover item 23, which is the announcement of the next board meeting, and item number 24, adjournment. We will not be covering any additional public discussion or making any decisions after we come out of executive session. So you're free to stay and watch me gavel the meeting to the close, but just to know that if you do leave now, you will not be missing anything. Thank you.
All right, and just
Get some heat, defrost.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Is there a motion to adjourn executive session?
Motion Welch.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Biassiata?
Yes.
Ms. Elder?
Yes.
Mayor Kumar?
Yes.
Mr. Love had to leave. Ms. McPherson?
Yes.
Mr. Sleesman?
Yes.
Mayor Weiss?
Yes.
And Ms. Welch?
Yes.
We have 7 ayes and none opposed.
Great. I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn the regular meeting of the board. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.